Got sciatic nerve pain? Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe and Sweet Sleepy Bear, and I'm going to talk about the three main ways you can get sciatic nerve pain. There's bulging disc, there's stenosis or degenerative disc disease, and there's piriformis syndrome. So I'm going to talk about all of those and show you a stretch and exercise for each. So let's get started. So the first one is a bulging disc. So if your sciatic pain is coming from a bulging disc, that's when the disc is bulging out or pressing onto that nerve. It's usually one-sided, so it's usually just one leg that's involved. It usually goes down the back of the leg, not always, but most of the time. And then sometimes you can get that nerve pain down into your foot where it feels like it's falling asleep, it feels like it's pain, pins and needles kind of pain. A lot of times this will happen when you're driving for a long time or sitting for a long time. That's when it's super uncomfortable. That bulging disc is also what we would call, like, you might have an extension bias. Flexing forward actually will push on that disc and push it out sometimes back into the nerve and cause more pain. So people tend to want to be in those extension positions. The extension motion does actually help push that disc back in. So just to remind you, this is talking about where the sciatic pain is coming from. So you're not doing all of these exercises. You're getting a proper diagnosis from your physical therapist or your doctor to say, this is what you have, these are the ones you have to do. So the first stretch for a bulging disc would just be what we call prone props, or kind of just a propping up on your tummy. So you would just lie down on your stomach, and starting off, you would just be on your elbows. So this is just kind of a prone prop on your elbows. Super simple, nothing wild and crazy. If you haven't done much before, your back is probably going to be pretty stiff, pretty tight feeling. So you might even be feeling a little bit of pressure there just on your elbows. Just kind of propped up, sitting here for 30 seconds. You don't, again, have to do really any big movements. If you're getting a lot of pain and uncomfortableness and you don't feel like that you can get to that 30 seconds, that's okay. Come on back down. You can do 10 to 15 seconds and kind of work your way up with that one. But if you are feeling good, you can eventually progress that a little bit more by coming up on your hands. I've got some videos specifically for bulging disc if you want to check those out. And then to get some strengthening in there, you would just do a simple bridge. Bridging is a really nice exercise to kind of get the back working, the hips working, and the knees working. So just propping up my knees are about hip width apart. The feet, the closer they are, it takes out the hamstrings a little bit and works your glutes a little bit more. Just find a comfortable place. But sometimes the hamstrings do like to try and cramp up on you a little bit. So just make sure you're aware of that. So if you start to feel like it's cramping up, just come back down. With the bridging, you're just rolling your hips up nice and gently, kind of in one motion, so you don't have to stop at each segment of your back, but kind of feel like each segment of your back is lifting up at one time. So I'm just coming up like this, about to a level position, and then nice and slow rolling back down. Make sure you're going slow, make sure it's comfortable. If you can't quite get that high yet, again, if it's uncomfortable, just kind of see if you can lift your bottom up off of the couch or the bed or the floor, wherever you are, and then slowly come back down. So you can start off with 10 to 15 of those, kind of work your way up. Sometimes I like just doing it for time, so give yourself 30 seconds and just see how many you comfortably can do in 30 seconds, and then you can work your way up, saying, if I was able to do just 4 the first 30 seconds, then maybe I try and do 5 the next time and 6 the next time. So then you're kind of progressing the work there. So the next one is sciatic pain, or that sciatic nerve pain coming from stenosis or degenerative disc disease. And so stenosis is when the holes of where the nerves come out to the body start narrowing, and then the degenerative disc disease is just when those discs start degenerating and then they start closing up that area. So again, then those nerves get pressed on because those spaces are narrowing. And so this is when you might have a flexion bias. So when the narrowing of those spaces get smaller and smaller, if you bend forward, the way the disc works, it opens it up a little bit, and that gives people some relief. So not that you want to walk around hunched over all the time, that's not what we're saying here, but that will sometimes give you relief when you're working on stretches and exercises for that. So a lot of times with stenosis, or DDD is what we call the degenerative disc disease, standing, walking actually makes it worse because it's putting more pressure on there. Sometimes the sitting and the bending forward actually does make it feel better. With this one, sometimes you will feel it down both legs. So it's not just one-sided, it can be one-sided, but sometimes with these you will feel it on both sides. So a way to do some relief stretching with that is doing more than the flexing position. So just getting on all fours and going into a prayer stretch or a child's pose. And so you can do this one a couple different ways. Some people like to stretch their arms out and go into it, and some people kind of like to sit back on their bottom. Now, I know if you have some knee issues, this can be uncomfortable. I also have some videos specifically for stenosis and DDD as well, so you can check those out to get some modifications. But just coming back and getting that stretch this way. So then that's kind of opening up those spaces a little bit, it's stretching out those back muscles, it's taking the pressure off the area, because a lot of times if it's tight in there and the spaces are getting smaller, if you're stretching out those muscles, that will help take the pressure off the area. So again, just getting into that prayer pose or child's pose, and then holding that for 30 seconds, coming up and probably doing that about 3 times. For the exercise, with this one, a lot of times people are a little bit more tight and stiff, so you can do a bridge, but I like just doing a pelvic tilt for this one, because sometimes maybe that's all the back can really tolerate at that point. So with a pelvic tilt, you're still kind of in that bridge position, your knees are propped up, kind of about hip width apart, but this time, instead of coming all the way up, you're just rotating your hips back. So you're rotating that pelvis right here. So it's not pushing with my feet. I'm not putting pressure, I'm not pushing like I'm going up into that bridge, but I'm using those hip muscles, those back muscles, those pelvic muscles to rotate everything back, and I'm flattening out my back onto whatever I'm lying down on. But again, I'm not holding my breath, I'm not pushing with my legs. If you look, I'm not really doing much with my legs or my feet at all. All the movement is here. It's rotating that pelvis back. And so you can do it continuously a little bit if you're really tight and want to loosen it up, or you can go get into that position and just hold it there maybe 10 to 15 seconds, and then again kind of working your way up from there. But this is a nice one. Even with the bridges before, if you can't quite do those, you can start off with the pelvic tilt. So sometimes the sciatic pain is actually coming from your piriformis muscle. It's getting irritated. It's called piriformis syndrome. That sciatic nerve runs underneath that piriformis muscle. So it can get irritated and kind of get inflamed and put pressure on that nerve. It can also come from sitting a lot. If you're sitting on those sit bones area and where that piriformis muscle is, and you're just pushing it and pushing it into that sciatic nerve, you're going to get those symptoms of that sciatic nerve pain. A lot of times this can happen if you're sitting on the toilet for a long period of time. If you get caught playing a game or something while you're on the toilet and you're there for a long time, because of the way you sit, it puts a lot of pressure there. And so a great stretch for the piriformis, just sitting. And again, you can do these stretches and exercises. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of modifications, and I've got some videos for those as well. But this is a super simple one. You're just going to cross your leg over into what we call a figure 4, because if you look down, it kind of looks like the number 4. And so the leg I'm crossing over is the side I'm going to stretch. So if it's my left side over here, I'm crossing that leg up and over. The key with this is I'm not just slouching down to get the stretch. I'm keeping my back straight and I'm bending forward at my hips. So if I go like this, I'm already getting a stretch in that piriformis area more than if I curl down and do this, because you want to keep that back straight and go forward with the hips, because that's where that piriformis muscle is connected there to get that nice stretch. So I'm feeling a great stretch through there. Holding that stretch for 30 seconds, doing that 3 times. If you have some knee hip issues and getting your foot up over the knee is really hard to do in this position, you can modify it a little bit by bringing that leg down and just bring your foot up as high as you comfortably can. So if it's lower, so this is a little bit less pressure here, I can still do this motion and I'm still getting a stretch there. It might not be quite as much as up here, but you can slowly work your way up. So if you can't get it up here, that's okay. Start down here and then do that. Or like I said, there's a bunch of other ways to stretch that. So you can stretch it in different ways in some of my other videos. And then a nice exercise for it. So now let's say I'm wanting to strengthen the piriformis. So it's going to be on this side. I'm just going to do what we call a clamshell exercise. So the side on top is the one you're working. I'm going to bend my knees up towards me. My feet are going to kind of be in alignment with my whole body here. The key for this one, and make sure you're getting, if you want a pillow to lie all the way down, do that. You know, if propping up is uncomfortable, that you don't have to do that. You can lie all the way down. Propping up for me is fine. But you want to keep your hips perpendicular to whatever you're lying down on, your couch, your bed, or the floor. Because when you start to lift this top leg, a lot of times people want to roll. Keep your feet together, the feet stay together, and then you're just taking that top knee and rolling it up. But I like to put my hand here just so I know that my hip's not rolling. So I'm coming up just like this. It doesn't have to be a super bringing it up because then I'm going to want to roll. So it's not this, that's not the movement I'm doing. I'm not moving my whole body. I'm rotating to make those muscles on the outside here work. Nice and controlled, you don't have to go super slow, you don't have to go super fast. Again, if you just want to do a 30-second time and say, the first time I'm going to try and get 5, then I'm going to work my way up from there. That's a nice way to kind of progress with that one. So there you have it. That's a few different ways you can possibly get sciatica and some stretches and exercises to help with it. If you'd like to check out some of my other videos for the specific areas, you can click on the link up there. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking down there to make Mr. Unicorn Bear happy. And remember, be safe, have fun, and I hope you feel better soon.